So you know what I was thinking? I know we're only like less than 2 weeks into the Major League Baseball season, but it seems to me that at the beginning of every season, many ESPN or Major League Baseball Network analysts, they pick their preseason World Series champ. They try to predict, who's going to get to the World Series, who's going to be the runner-up, who's going to do what. They try to predict all these things that each team's going to do, and mainly that has to do with, how good each team's going to be. So then that got me thinking, why don't I do the opposite? Because you're more likely to lose the World Series than win it. I mean, there's 30 teams, you have a 1 in 30 chance. So if you don't win the World Series, that means you're one of the 29 other teams. So I think 29 out of 30 chance is better than a 1 in 30 chance. So that's what I decided to do. I decided that I want to make a video about why each team might not win the World Series. Because only one team's going to win it and 29 teams aren't. So basically, today I'm going to be making a video about why your favorite MLB team might not win the World Series. So I'm just going to give one big reason for each team. And by the way, these reasons, they may not be true at the end of the season, but coming into the season, this is what I feel like is each team's biggest weakness. And this doesn't mean your team won't win the World Series, okay? It just means that if they don't, this could be a reason why they don't. So yeah, one reason why your favorite MLB team won't win the World Series. Here we go. The Arizona Diamondbacks. Lack of elite hitters. So last year, the Arizona Diamondbacks had a lot of good hitters, but their two best hitters, Paul Goldschmidt and AJ Pollock, are gone. They both left in free agency, so they don't really have good hitters. The Atlanta Braves. Lack of starting pitching. After Mike Fultonevich, who is currently hurt, no one really looks like a clear number 2 on the Atlanta Braves. They do have a lot of good, solid pitchers, but they don't really have anyone who has ace-like stuff like Fultonevich. Braves, clean that up if you want to win a World Series. The Baltimore Orioles. Everything. The Baltimore Orioles are going to be pathetic this year. There's no other way to look at it. They're full of no-names. They could be historically bad with over 100 wins. Well over 100 wins, I might add. And their highest paid player, who is Chris Davis, who is owed $92 million over the next few years, could possibly be the worst player in Major League Baseball. The Boston Red Sox. They lost Craig Kimbrell, who was their best reliever, and as a result, they could have some late-inning bullpen woes. Chicago Cubs. Bullpen needs work. Their closer, Brandon Morrow, is hurt, and their whole bullpen is just allowing way too many runs right now. So the Chicago Cubs need to fix that bullpen if they want to continue being a contender in 2019. Cincinnati Reds. Their disgusting all-around pitching is disgusting. They have no starting pitching. Their relief pitching is very below average. And frankly, they just need someone on their pitching staff with at least a sliver of talent, which is lacking right now. The Cleveland Indians. Their biggest weakness is, like the Cubs, their bullpen woes. They lost their two best relievers, Cody Allen and Andrew Miller, in free agency, and it looks like a big problem for the Cleveland Indians. The Colorado Rockies. Still starting pitching. Thanks a lot, Coors Field. I mean, they do have a close to ace player in Kyle Freeland and a pretty good number 2 in German Marquez, but other than that, their pitching struggles a lot. And, I guess it's not entirely their fault because they're in Coors, but still, their pitching needs work. The Detroit Tigers. No talent, no talent. No talent, no talent. The Detroit Tigers have no talent. Other than Miggy Cabrera, maybe Nick Castellanos, they have no starting pitchers that are elite. They have no other hitters that are elite. It could be a disaster for the Tigers. The Houston Astros. They do have a lot of really good players, and they're a World Series contender. But after Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole, their third, fourth, and fifth pitchers aren't very good because they've lost Dallas Keuchel, they've lost Charlie Morton, Lance McCullers, he's out for the season. So they need to work on their starting pitching depth if they want to continue contending. The Kansas City Royals. They might be the worst rotation in Major League Baseball. Can you name one pitcher on the Kansas City Royals? Yeah, neither can I. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Other than Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, their roster depth and talent is severely lacking. Get some help around those two guys, and the Angels might be pretty good. The Los Angeles Dodgers. Their biggest problem is the pressure and high expectations. See, the LA Dodgers have lost back-to-back World Series. They're a great team, and they're probably the favorites to come out of the National League again and contend for another World Series title. But there's a lot of expectations and pressure, so we'll see how the Dodgers deal with it, because if they can't, that'll be bad for them. The Seattle Mariners. Historic disappointments. The Mariners a lot of times start the season off well, or in seasons where they have a lot of promise, it turns out that they disappoint everyone. With currently the longest playoff drought in North American professional sports, they haven't made the playoffs since 2001. It's been a long time. The Miami Marlins. They need a lot of development and time. Their owner, Derek Jeter, is doing a pretty terrible job since he took over. They have a lot of decent talent, but nothing over the top. They've traded a lot of their star players, and just give them like 27 years and they might be able to win. It's going to be a while. The Milwaukee Brewers. Poor starting pitching. This was the same problem that they faced last year in the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers. They don't have many great starters. Their bullpen's fantastic. Their offense is fantastic. They're going to be an elite team, but they should probably clean up their starting pitching or else they could have problems. The Minnesota Twins. They're still too young. They have a lot of good talent. I like where they're headed. They could be a playoff contender this year. They could make the playoffs like they did 2 years ago. But Byron Buxton, Miguel Sano, they're young and talented players. They still need some development. Sano has potential, but he always seems to disappoint. Same with Buxton, who was once the #1 overall prospect. They're still too young. The New York Mets. The hitting is inconsistent. I love where their pitching is. Their pitching is terrific. Their hitting is not bad, but they do have some injuries, and sometimes their offense struggles, so they got to work on their hitting. The New York Yankees. Injuries, injuries, injuries. The Yankees are full of injuries. Giancarlo Stanton, Miguel Andujar, Pedro Severino. Luis Severino, my bad. 3 of their best players, all out with injuries. They got to fix the injuries, or they got to wait till the injury bug is gone, hopefully, or else they will not contend like they're expected to. The Oakland Athletics. Starting pitching needs help. The Oakland A's made the playoffs last year with a great bullpen and great offense. But if they really want to be able to win a World Series, they need to either trade for a pitcher, because Mike Fiers being your ace does not usually translate into World Series wins. No disrespect, Mike Fiers, I'm sorry. The Pittsburgh Pirates. A little bit of everything is needed. See, they have decent starting pitching, decent talent. You know, Jameson Taillon, Chris Archer. And they have decent hitting with Josh Bell, you know, and others I will name later. So they just need to maybe get a couple more pieces there, but they're going in a somewhat positive direction. The Philadelphia Phillies. The question is, too many new pieces. The Philadelphia Phillies have added, of course, Bryce Harper, Andrew McCutchen, Gene Segura, and JT Realmuto. Those are 4 pretty much elite offensive players. But with all those new pieces being forced into a new lineup of young players, will that team mesh in its first season altogether? That is yet to be determined. The San Diego Padres, still not enough. Basically, the Padres did a great job getting Machado. For them, they got some star power. Eric Hosmer's pretty good at first base. But their starting pitching, there's some talent, but I don't see anyone who's going to be an ace anytime soon. And their hitting still is more of a bright side for them, but they still need time. If Tatis Jr. may need a couple years to develop before he's an MVP like he could be. The San Francisco Giants. Too many washed up old timers. The San Francisco Giants have pretty much no top prospects. A lot of their players are the remainder of 3 World Series titles in 5 years. A lot of them are way past their prime and ready to retire, which they should, but they're probably not going to. All right, the St. Louis Cardinals. Who's the ace? That's their biggest problem. They have a lot of good pitchers, a lot of good hitters, and they could be a contender this year. But it's yet to be determined who is the ace of that staff. Is it Adam Wainwright? Is it Michael Wacha? Is it Jack Flaherty? Is it Carlos Martinez, who we don't even know when he's going to come back? Because there's no dominance in their starting rotation, so that could be a problem for the Cardinals. The Tampa Bay Rays, not enough hitting. I love their pitching. Their bullpen's terrific. That is doing very well right now. But they're hitting, they have a lot of solid hitters, but they don't have any star hitters, which could be a problem if they make it to October. The Texas Rangers, they need help everywhere. The Texas Rangers lack starting pitching, they lack good hitting. It's a long work in progress. The Toronto Blue Jays, no stars other than maybe Vladimir Guerrero. Listen, the Toronto Blue Jays, are not doing well right now. And there's really no one on their team that has a potential for stardom other than their prospect, Vlad Guerrero Jr., which we don't even know when he's going to be called up. So it could be a long time for the Blue Jays. The Chicago White Sox, they're still too young. They have a lot of potential stars, or whatever you may call it, but they still need a lot of time to develop. Moncada doing well, but he still needs time to develop. They have a lot of good prospects, but it's going to take some time. And finally, last but not least, the Washington Nationals. Chokers! The Washington Nationals every year seem like they have promise for the World Series. They always have very good starters, very good hitters, in a pretty good baseball town, I guess, but the problem is they always disappoint. That's just who they are. They're chokers. Even when they get to the playoffs, they can't advance. A Washington sports team hasn't advanced since the 1920s, I believe. So if the Nationals can stop choking and maybe live up to some expectations, they could go far in October. All right, this is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to keep on supporting me because we have hit 100 subscribers. Actually, we're far past that. And thank you guys so much for the support. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, which I'll put right there. And then make sure to subscribe, like, and comment because it would help me a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.